Compressed natural gases, or CNG, along with liquefied and renewable natural gases, are also considered alternative fuels. Natural gas has long been used for residential and industrial uses, but it hasn't been feasible to use in automobiles until the past several decades. New technologies have enabled storage tanks to be designed for higher pressures, allowing more fuel to be held in smaller spaces. Charlie Stockton with Patriot Resource Systems explains the characteristics of natural gas.
Compressed natural gas is in its gaseous state. It requires a little bit more storage capacity than LNG. LNG is cryogenically frozen into a state that makes it a liquid form. It does not require as much storage as what CNG does, but there is additional costs associated with getting it in the liquefied form. The technology dates back decades, but it really, the first time when it came back in, when it came in the early 80s, the vehicles just didn't perform as well. They were sluggish, there was cold start issues, they didn't have the power. Now, the technology's advanced so much that you cannot tell a difference in the way the vehicle performs, the fuel economy that it gets. It's the same as what it is for the OEM gasoline engine.
It's feasible if you have the right application right now. Tethered fleets, basically any company, municipality with a fleet, if you're a commuter vehicle, if you're a company that has that drives a lot of miles, puts a lot of miles on your vehicle, great applications. If you're a person, if you have your own personal vehicle and you're close to a CNG station, it's very feasible.
An individual can have a vehicle, even a passenger vehicle. For instance, Honda makes a natural gas version of their Civic. And General Motors is now coming out with a natural gas version of the Chevy Cruze, which are typically family type vehicles. And then there are several manufacturers, including Ford Motor Company, which products we work with primarily, that offer conversion packages as well for trucks, starting with a half-ton pickup truck and working its way up to a full Class 7 vocational truck. And then CNG is also used by the heavy truck manufacturers.
It's cleaner, about 20 to 30% less greenhouse gas emissions. It's safer. When gasoline or diesel spilled, it pools. With natural gas, it's lighter than air, so it dissipates up into the air. It's domestic. About 97% of the natural gas that we use here in the U.S. is North American. The price point, it's less expensive because of the low volatility, because of the supply we have. And plus it comes from pipes in the ground. You don't have to truck it anywhere to get it to a station.
With CNG being cleaner and cheaper than gasoline, it makes for a reasonable alternative. But what are the limitations?
CNG infrastructure is by far the most common problem you'd have associated with it, because people just don't have adequate access to the refueling infrastructure.
There are about 9 in the state of Indiana, with probably in the next year or so doubling that amount. And you'll start seeing them on interstate corridors, basically every so many 100 miles or so to help with over-the-road interstate travel. But here in Southwest Indiana, there are 2.
Capacity is the other primary negative with CNG. In the gaseous form, it takes up about double what you would have with conventional gasoline. A lot of the trucks that we put together that run on compressed natural gas, they have tanks that are mounted behind the back of the cab, usually in like a box. And that's, they will have the tanks mounted there, or in the bed of a truck if it's a pickup truck. Now, if you take a smaller passenger vehicle, it's going to take up some trunk space because of the requirement to have the natural gas tanks, the larger capacity requirements of storing that fuel type.
It's the exact same gas that you use to heat your home, you cook with or heat your water with. It's on an interstate pipeline that is taken to a city gate, what we call city gate, and from there it's distributed to our service territory. Like I said, it's the same gas that you use in schools and hospitals. It's just after the meter, it's then compressed and used as a fuel source.
Of course, most energy sources that are most cost efficient and environmentally friendly are worth our investment. But one of the greatest benefits of alternative fuel is energy independence.
When our country, our nation, is dependent upon foreign sources of energy, we don't have control of our economy. And there has been great bloodshed over oil. And I think a lot of people here in the United States really, they buy into the macro picture of, you know, this is domestically produced fuel. We don't have to be dependent on any foreign nations for us to meet our needs. And we just have to have a wide-scale adoption of it. The technology is here to make all of this work. It's here, we can make it work affordably, it's cleaner, and it'll reduce bloodshed from our armed service members. And that's, I think, the most important thing.